Hello artists! For this project we are going to be making a winter mitten. We're going to use different colors, pattern, and shapes. The materials you are going to need is some white paper, a pencil, and something to color with. You can also use construction paper if you would like to use scissors and glue for this project. I'm going to leave you with the choice to choose what materials you would like to add color to your project. Just know that if you are going to choose scissors, glue, and construction paper, you're going to need to clean up after yourself and not leave tiny scraps all over the place. To begin, we are going to trace our hand on the paper. Now, I said we were going to be making a mitten, so you might be thinking, but Miss Embleton, why are we tracing our hands? Well, two reasons. The first reason is tracing our hand builds strong muscles, so I want us to always practice doing that. And the other reason is because I want us to make our mitten as big as our hand. It's just something fun we could do. To start, I'm going to take the hand that I do not write with, and I'm going to put it on my paper. I can keep my fingers spaced apart just a little, and I'm holding my hand really strong on this paper, as tight as I can. See, when I push it, it doesn't really move off the paper. I don't want to be able to move my fingers around because I will not be able to trace my hand properly. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and hold it straight up and down instead of at an angle like how I normally write. I'm going to hold it straight up and down and start by my wrist where it lines up at the edge of the paper. Going very slowly, I'm going to take the pencil and rub it up against the side of my hands. I'm going slowly and taking my time, and I'm really making sure the pencil is touching the side of my hands and fingers. Slowly, making sure not to move my fingers. And it's okay if I make a mistake because we're going to be drawing the mitten around our hand. Remember, we are just practicing tracing our hands because it helps us build strong muscles. There you go. Do you see how I have some spaces that I missed and some that are a little wiggly? That's okay. We are making a mitten around our hand. Do you know the difference between mittens and gloves? Gloves have 5 fingers just like our hand, so each finger fits inside of one of the little sock pieces. That makes it easier for us to move our hands. Mittens almost have 2 sock parts where one goes around our main fingers and another piece goes around our thumb. We are going to draw our mitten around this hand by using a dark color. You can use a black crayon, black marker. If you don't have black, you can use purple, blue, brown, whatever you would like. I'm going to take a black marker and I'm going to start at the bottom of my mitten where my wrist is, and I am going to draw a straight line here, and I'm going to make almost like a bracelet around my wrist. This is the band of my bracelet. Next, I'm going to take my marker and make the sock part of the mitten that goes around all 4 of my main fingers. For this, I need to really make sure that I'm paying attention to where my line is going. If you are nervous, you can start with a pencil and trace over it in black. I'm going to start at the cuff of my mitten, and I'm going to go slowly right next to my pencil line. And now I'm making a big curved line around the tips of my fingers and back down to where my thumb is. But I do not want to go past where my thumb is because a mitten wraps around our fingers. Next, I'm going to go up around my thumb and back down to the band of the mitten. I really like the way this looks because it looks like I use an X-ray machine to see through my mitten to see my fingers. What I can do now is I'm going to take a pencil and erase my original hand lines that I drew of my hand. The reason I erased this line is because when I add my patterns, I do not want it to show and take away from all the pretty designs and colors that I use. It's called good craftsmanship when you take your time to make something nice. Now that I have the outline for my mitten, I need to decide what materials I will use and what kind of patterns and colors I will decide. I'm going to use markers to design my mitten. So I'm going to start with one marker to draw all my patterns. If you are deciding on using some colored construction paper, what you would do is cut different shapes and glue them in. So for example, you might really like a teal color and you want to cut some little tiny pieces to glue inside, kind of like a mosaic or a collage. I might take this piece, cut a little square, glue it, cut another one, glue it next to it, and continue to fill in that shape. I could also make patterns by alternating or making a pattern that repeats between maybe orange and teal. The idea is to fill this whole mitten with different colors, lines, and patterns. To begin, I'm going to start with the band of my mitten, and I always like to do stripes here. Next, I'm going to start from the bottom and come up with different ideas that I could do to create some lines. Maybe I'll start with a scale pattern. Some stripes to break up that pattern. Maybe I'll make a larger blank stripe where I could draw a different pattern inside. A skinny stripe. I might do this scale pattern again. Do you see how I'm repeating the different types of lines? These big open spaces not only give me a chance to draw something in between, but it also makes my pattern a little bit simpler to see. Sometimes if you make too many lines too close together, your picture becomes crowded and difficult to look at. It's important to find just the right amount of design to make your piece look interesting, but not too crazy or chaotic. I think I'm going to leave these spaces blank instead of putting shapes in them, only because I really like this openness. You are going to decide what you want yours to look like. You don't have to do the same shapes, the same line, or the same color as me. I want you to choose your own. For this next piece, I'm going to fast forward through as I color in my pattern. Remember to take your time, really color in each little space that you've created, and give each shape its own color. Don't take one color and color over the whole thing, because all this hard work will get lost and it won't come out as you want. Let's see what this looks like when I'm done. Now that I finished coloring my mitten, I hope you noticed that I really went slowly as I used my marker. I made straight lines to make sure I filled in each space without rushing back and forth and leaving lots of white spaces. I also made sure to go in every little small piece to fill it in with color. I didn't rush and fall outside the lines. I really took my time to make sure that my mitten was completely colored in. Remember, not only does that make your artwork look nicer, but it's also making all those muscles in your hand just that much stronger. Now that I finished my mitten, I have choices as to what I can do with it. I could practice using scissors and cut out my mitten and then maybe hang it in a window, or I could make a background. For a background, I could draw snowflakes and color them in. I could use a white crayon to draw those secret snowflakes like we did with our snowman and then paint the background. Or I can do something completely different. I could just make it look like it's on the floor of my room. I could just color it in one solid color, or I can make a different pattern in the background. I hope you had fun creating your mitten. I hope that you can feel those muscles getting stronger and stronger, and I can't wait to see what your projects look like.